Go! Welcome back to the HOF College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, and if you love college football, you're definitely in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of the HOF College Football Podcast. It is finally scheduled day, Sooner fans. I have a couple of guys here to help me break down the Big 12 schedule as a whole, and particularly for Oklahoma, Texas, and the boys up at Okie Light. So welcome into the show, my boys Jay and Chris. How's it going, fellas? Jay and Chris. Jay is from Unfair Sports. Chris is the Horns Down podcast. We'll throw those down right now. Where you at, Chris? Man, we're in the middle of the whole thing, bro. Come on.
You know what Chris be doing?
Yeah, what's up? What's up, fellas? How y'all doing today?
What's going on?
Yeah, doing good, bro. Doing good. Chill day. Got to stay home. Everybody's safe. Hopefully everybody else out there is safe. Great news with what we're going to be talking about here soon for the student boys, to be honest with you. I'm just going to say that get your optimistic hats out, get your optimistic pants out as well. It's looking pretty damn good.
We're gonna do some sunshine pumping.
Yeah. Let's get some hopes up tonight. You know.
Hey man, I am okay with that. Welcome to the show, Jay. Appreciate having you on again. I didn't get to see your video yet, but folks, make sure that you get on there. He's already got his breakdown as well, but we're gonna make him break it down again here for us.
Oh yeah.
So what's your initial thoughts, fellas, as far as the overall schedule? I know everybody was talking a lot about Oklahoma, Texas getting kind of screwed. So it didn't really look like it. Initial looks, that's not really where I'm at. So let me know.
So I'll lead us off on this one. And I thought it was funny when people were saying that both got screwed. Now, I guess you could say the tough part about Texas schedule is they got Alabama, right? You know, they traveled to Alabama, but they had Alabama last year. So that's expected. Right. That's the toughest, part of their schedule probably per se. But when I looked at Oklahoma and Texas schedule, I'm going to keep it a buck. It ain't as bad as y'all think it is. First off, OU leaves the state only 3 times this season. 3 times. Right. They play Tulsa, which is in Oklahoma, and then they go to Oklahoma State, and everything else here at the crib. Well, they go to Dallas. We'll say the Red River in the middle is technically in Dallas. So they leave the state 4 times, but only 3 actual road games.
Hey, right. Dallas, Oklahoma. Let's just be honest with you.
It's so Dallas is southern Oklahoma. We claim that. We own that now.
We claim that.
Fair. So my point is, though, going to Lawrence, going up to Cincinnati, and then going out to Provo, that's really the only 3 times that Oklahoma's on a true road game this season. That's pretty impressive. Texas, they leave the state of Texas, twice this season? Twice. Look at the schedule. They go to Tuscaloosa, and then they go to Ames, Iowa. That's it. Every other game is in the state of Texas. They're not going anywhere.
Wow.
Kind of a favorable schedule if you really think about it.
Right. They don't have to make the Provo trip. They don't have to go to Cincy. They don't even have to go to Florida. Wow.
Exactly.
But that's not the point, Jay. That's not the point. That last 3 game skid, come on, man. That last 3 game skid is slate is the better word. That last 3 game slate, that's going to be tough on them. You got TCU on the road, Iowa State on the road, and then Texas Tech as well. And they're all going to be pumped to play you as well.
I'll give you Iowa State.
But
TCU's losing a lot.
Yeah.
TCU's kind of in the boat that in a way that we were last season in losing a lot of their contributors going pro. They've got a lot of refreshing to do, and I'm not sold on anybody refreshing that fast after it's such a quick ascension, I guess you could say. But you're right.
One of the biggest problems with TCU, in my opinion, is the fact that they won't have all those super seniors out there this year. And
Oklahoma State, remember that last year, 2 years ago, they had like a top 5 defense in the country, and then all of a sudden it fizzled. Super seniors.
And I liked it. I like Chandler Morris an awful lot, but at the same time, we got to see does he actually have durability issues, or is he there? But enough about
talking about Chandler Morris with TCU. Obviously, having a new. I mean, we don't know that TCU is going to be the same TCU that squeaked by exactly. all the games.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's a beautiful point as well. But I'll say this right here. I know it's your show, Jason. Let's get to the business, man. Forget all these other teams. Let's get to the business. Let's get to
the business. We got to. We got to talk about everybody else first, man.
First of all, Chris, it is my damn show. All right.
Let's get to the business. Boys, look. OU has a hell of a schedule this year. And the reason why I say this is because the stars align on this schedule. You get through SMU is honestly, you know what? I'll say this right here. It's a toss-up between SMU and Tulsa being our toughest non-conference game this year. And the reason why I say that is simply because SMU just lost Tanner Mordecai, so I don't know what they have at quarterback. And then going to Tulsa, I'm not going to say they're going to be terrible, but at the same time, Kevin Wilson is going to try to get that program back on track. And I think Kevin Wilson is a good offensive coordinator, so I give him respect for what he's been able to do here, Ohio State, and some of the other runs. He has some success down there in Indiana.
I respect him as a coach, Chris, but I'm just saying, I mean, this is, with when they pulled this Georgia game from the schedule because of the SEC move that's probably coming up. You had to know that this was going to be Cupcakeville, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so, and with SMU probably being the toughest one, but we don't know what they got at quarterback at this point.
Yeah.
Look, Tulsa, the only thing about Tulsa is with Kevin Wilson coming, you got to remember who he worked with when he was at Oklahoma, Brent Venables. So he has a really good idea of what Kevin Wilson's going to do offensively when he saw him in practice for years. So I have zero fear in Tulsa. No. SMU is interesting, but that's the thing. That's kind of like my point, Chris. We leave the state 3 times this year. Like we're literally just driving on a bus up the street, around the corner in preparation for these games. We've got a lot more extra time to prepare than we would if we were traveling, like we're going up to Lawrence or traveling to Florida or something like that, or West Virginia, in the brisking cold. I don't think it's going to even be that bad when we get up to Provo, because if I'm correct, they don't get a bunch of snow in actual Provo. I think it's around it. Now, I could be wrong, because, it's a great ski area. But, yeah, it's going to be like us when we used to go to Colorado. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be old school. It's going to have that old school feel to it, which I'm excited about.
The old Big 12, that ain't bad.
Yeah.
That's not even a bad thought, really, honestly. I know Provo's a tough place to play. The last time I was out there, I was telling you off air, I went with a buddy of mine in Vegas that he was a big Texas fan and watched Taysom Hill beat the brakes off of Texas. So, I mean, beat the brakes off of Texas in that third quarter.
Oh my God, Taysom was absurd.
Taysom was absurd. But it was fun to watch. And I laughed the whole time, But and it gets wild in there. That's one thing about playing at altitude. You are, as Jimmy just said, perfect timing there, Jimmy. You are playing at altitude. You do have a ruckus crowd in there. Those Mormons may not say cuss words, but they do go crazy. They do go crazy for their Cougars, and it's a tough place to play, tough environment. I think that's definitely going to be one of those games that, particularly coming down in the stretch for Oklahoma, you've got to go the last, those are the last 2 on the road. The last one's at home, but you've got BYU on the road, and then you got to close out with the defending conference champion. I think it's obviously I think the schedule sets up good early. I think you've got your tough moments, but to be honest with you, if Oklahoma does what they should do, you don't see a ton of losses in here. You know what I mean?
That's what this year is all about. This season here on paper, before we even play one snap of football, when I saw the schedule, I said to myself, you know what? This schedule is all about if OU will beats themselves or not. If OU goes out there and plays disciplined football, cleans up the mistakes that you saw last year, there will be a lot more. The winning will come, like Venables said. It depends on OU getting out of their own way, because the thing is that The first 3 to 4 games are all well, honestly, the first 4 games of your season are teams that are having to come off of new coaching staffs, significant losses at key positions on and off the field, and you just have to basically go out there and do what you need to do. These are games that you should go out there, you should dominate and win by at least 2 touchdowns, to be quite frank with you. You have the talent, you have the experience now with some of these players. A lot of these players are having the snap counts and all the rest of the stuff. They're playing now, okay? One of the biggest things that you have to make sure is that you have somebody that can, for better or for worse, replace Agüebu right there in the middle as well, alongside Stutzman. But like I said, man, the biggest thing is you can't beat yourself. You are able to go. I think one of the toughest games that we have on our schedule is at Kansas. I think Kansas is going to be better. I think Texas will be somewhat of a tough game. Iowa State at home is key. West Virginia at home this year is key. I mean, my God, if we can just stop Green, it will be okay with that whole, QB run game that they wanted to have. But like I said, this schedule is favorable towards us. And like Jay said, I mean, that's a big point. The time that you have to rest and to be in familiar settings, not having to travel all that much. You're traveling to Tulsa and you're traveling to Stillwater. You're traveling to Lawrence. Those are not really lengthy trips. Pretty much the only lengthy trips that you have are to Cincinnati and to
Provo.
To Provo. And the one thing about traveling to Cincinnati in September, that's really good because it's not going to be cold outside. It's not going to be snowing. It's going to be crystal clear.
Football weather.
That's right.
And that's kind of the big. That's one of that's a big difference. The fact that you get UCF and all those teams like that at home as well. It's just a game within a game, because I could point out several games to you where SMU, BYU, and especially UCF on the Gus Malzahn, it's going to be more of a gadget play system. They're really gadgety teams as far as what their play calling is, in my opinion. So, like I said, are you going to fall for the tricks like you did this year? Are you going to fall for the pre-snap motion stuff like you did last year, man? You just got to get out of your way.
This is where, and that's where I said this is where you're hoping that they have made a big jump as far as learning the scheme better, being more disciplined in what they're doing. Obviously, you've added talent to this roster. You would hope that they're going to add pressure to the quarterback and do. Look, if you assume that the offense is going to be anywhere close to what it was a year ago or better, right? You don't really have to have this defense as a top 20 defense. You need it to be top 50. And that gets you 10 wins. Am I right? Well, I mean,
you're right. You're right. Because I mean, we lost 5 games with a point, one score game basically. So 5 1-score games we lost. So if your defense is just a little bit better, that flips quickly,
and 123
easily.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, top 70, we would have gotten it, and so I think this defense will change that. And kind of like Chris made mention of, we got to replace Agüebu, and to be honest, I don't think that's going to be a problem, because I think he was out of position anyway. He's playing linebacker, and he's really an edge, and he's going to Houston to play edge, and so we don't see him this year on the schedule. So that's not our problem, but he's going to probably be a little bit of a problem for like a Texas or something. Well, Texas has got Houston, so maybe a problem for them. But outside of that, that's not too big of an issue. And so kind of want to talk what I think Jimmy made mention of this, going to the altitude or whatnot. That's the great part of having Schmitty. Schmitty's going to prepare them for that. Absolutely. They'll be prepared for altitude. They will be in probably some of the best shape of their lives going into that, because a lot of the players that will play this coming season have been in his system for about a year. And I've said this so many times. If you've worked out or exercised or got onto a plan, it takes you about a year for your body to fully adjust. And once that year hits, your body, it's like a switch just turns on, and everything gets a lot easier and more natural for you. It takes time. And so they're going to be in that system. I think they'll be prepared for Provo. That's going to be a fun game. But outside of that, I mean, those two trips probably be tough. And I like what Jen said, 10-2. That's kind of what I'm thinking this year. I don't want to, throw too much hyperbole out there and say we'll go undefeated. But if the defense does show up top 50, there's a chance we could do that. we've got all the tools for it.
Listen, as long as everything stays together, obviously, but I think that there's definitely some stumbling blocks. Obviously, you've got you're talking 10-2. I would identify obviously UCF as a one of those opportunities to lose a game there. This is Gus Malzahn is not a BS coach, and this is his third season now at UCF. He's starting to kind of get it kind of running a little bit. I would say the BYU game, that's going to be a tough one on there, and then obviously your Texas game is always you're coming off of the bad loss this past season, you don't expect that again, but you can't, you're not going to necessarily say, hey, yeah, I guarantee we win that game, right?
Right.
So yeah, do I see 10-2? Possibly. I could also see 9-3, and I would be okay at 8-4, but that's about as low as it's got with this schedule. I would rather see 9 wins at least, kind of going in with it, right?
And I'll jump in. Yeah, no, for sure. I'll jump in and say that as far as BYU is kind of a hit or miss team, but BYU also strikes me as the. I
think it's the best of the 4.
I'm gonna give you a comparison, a loose comparison. They are Baylor 2 years ago. What I mean by that is that if you look at their schedule up top, you have where they have West Virginia and Iowa State at home, right? So they can go to West Virginia and win, then come back and lose by 12, 14 points to Iowa State. And I promise to God that crowd will still be rocking whenever OU hits, whenever OU actually, comes there to Provo. So it's one of those things where you have to go up there and you have to put a team like that out. You guys know how it is. Look, Levy is going to be key in a lot of these road games and these new atmospheres, especially when these teams are going crazy. The Cincinnati crowd, the hell, even the Tulsa crowd. You know what I'm saying? But my whole thing is Levy plays a big deal in that, because the thing about it is their progression in his play calling on the passing side. And is Dylan Gabriel, is he what we all expected him to be coming from UCF? We didn't really see that. It was really inconsistent at times for Dylan Gabriel. But if those two are on the same page and doing what they need to do, we have the talent. I feel like we're going to have guys step up in that wide receiver room. Mm-hmm. And then also one of the luxuries that we do have is Barnes and Sawchuk. And then, like I said, either Hicks.
That running game was so important a year ago.
Hicks, Smothers, even Marcus Major, somebody's going to have to pop up in that room.
Neither one of those two are really going to pop up. I think Hicks and Smothers will probably end up getting that red shirt, but you got to remember we got Emeka Megwa. We still got Tyree Walker. Yeah. The running back room is deep. That's the one thing I'm not concerned with, but you're right. And I think kind of point out, like Jen mentioned about Dylan Gabriel and him maturing. I'm going to be honest. I kind of think that Levy held Gabriel back on purpose, and this is why. We had no backup quarterback. And it was more so because whenever he did the recruiting, and like we had Jackson Dart here and a few others that was potentially going to transfer here, it was more of a, I'm not going to do a competition. Gabriel's the starting quarterback. If you want to come, you could be his backup, or if you light us up, then we'll give you a chance, which was the worst thing because it left you with no depth.
That's right.
And so you had Gabriel playing, you kind of protect him from himself. Because, if you see the dude run, Duke and Scoot, he went 60-something yards against Nebraska. And I was like, dude, why aren't we using him more for that? But you understood why. Because as soon as he got leveled against TCU, what happened? We were toast for a game and a half. So I think that now is not going to be the problem, because either General Booty's going to understand the offense better and is going to play more, because we're not going to play Bevel. Or they're like, look, Jackson Arnold's here. Screw it. If DG gets hurt, Jackson walks into the game and we're just going to move forward. So I'm not stressed about how DG's going to look. I think he's going to look a lot better. It was a guy tweeted me that, and I thought that was probably the greatest point ever, that we'll probably see more RPO and more movement by Gabriel just because we have competence behind him. Because remember, Jackson Arnold runs the exact same offense in high school, except for with a different terminology. So that means that he could walk in there and instantly know our entire set up, what routes the receiver is going to run, because Denton Geyer ran that exact same offense. I'm more confident in DG this year now because of that.
Well, and even looking at him at the end of the season, I mean, look, you close out the season with 2 big games. I know they lost them, but you put up, 48 points against Texas Tech on the road. Then you go to the bowl game, and I mean, he had another good game there. Look, he was trending in the right direction. There's no doubt about that. He was trending in the right direction. You've got some new weapons for him, but overall looking at, and then when you start thinking about, I'm thinking about the fact that you are going to have the tight end coming back, man. Why am I forgetting his name all of a sudden? But
Austin Stogner.
Austin Stogner. I mean, this guy is a big time target. He was, as well as Braden Willis played this past season. I like Stogner coming back. That's going to be big for him to be able to hit some of those over the middle throws. Selling down. And I think that, you don't try to keep him in the pocket and keep him from running anymore, like what you were saying, because you don't need to. And from what we're hearing out of this early part of this, spring stuff, what are you hearing about Jackson anyway? I'm hearing he's looking very, very good. So, chances are, that I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to try to start him right away because I think that would be silly. That being said, I don't know that they're too concerned about it.
Right.
If anything, I mean, you can go ahead and put the playbook out there and go ahead and do what you do, because if you get, the kid to come in at some point, then that's what you do, and maybe if Dylan doesn't look as good, I would think, and they start getting shaky, without an injury, they could try the kid. You know what I mean? Why wouldn't you?
First
no, you
off,
good point.
I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit, Jay, simply because I think just from a mechanical view, a mechanical aspect of his game, I think that some of his mechanics were off. I mean, just go back to countless replays on Gabriel and just look at him like he just had bad mechanics, especially to start the year. And I don't necessarily put that on the fact that Lebby, that it had a lot to do with Lebby. I mean, the thing about it is this right here. Guys were running down the field wide open, and he would stare them down, and there were a lot of coverage sacks. There's a lot of different things that Gabriel was doing early on.
He needed to get rid of the football, no doubt.
Yeah, he needs to get rid of the football. And I think also, I mean, I was there at that K-State game, and to see some of the bad throws that he missed Stoops on a couple of clutch possessions. I'm just gonna say he missed Stoops on a couple of clutch possessions. I was just like, man, it's a simple out route,
bruh. He had 491 total yards in that damn game.
But I mean, look.
Stop it.
He did. Hell, I'm gonna defend Chris on this, and he's right, because there were some mechanical things and there was some issues that Dylan Gabriel had in some place. But this was what somebody else told me that actually watched a lot of the All-22 and watched some of the details on it, is that our wide receivers were not running the right routes. A lot of the times, and a lot of those missed throws, the receiver were not what it's supposed to be, because it's a lot of timing routes. That entire offense, I remember Joel Klatt was talking about the way Lebby's system is compared to the way Lincoln Riley's is that there's a lot more timing routes and a lot more decisions about a quarterback based upon the defensive set. So it's a ratio thing. And our wide receivers were not running good routes. Plus, you watched our wide receivers drop, at least 6 touchdowns? Like 6 wide open, deep touchdowns. They just dropped. That would have been over. I mean, the games would have been over, blown off the top. If
there's probably 3 wins at least in some of the
right.
Think about it.
In the hands of those. So, Chris, you're right. No, I don't think Dylan Gabriel was perfect at all. By any means. I think he's a really good quarterback that still requires a good defense behind him.
Yeah.
While at the same time, I think he's good enough to be a college football quarterback that just needs his receivers to get to the right spots. And I think that was our biggest problem. I think Theo Weiss and them, they just weren't. They weren't able
lot of
to
drops,
really
man.
do. There was a lot of inconsistency on the wide receiver side too.
Sit here, and I know everybody likes to think that I just back up DG all day long. What I'm going to say is this: when you are giving up 40 a game and you're 123 in the country, you needed to be perfect, and he wasn't perfect. But I also want everybody to try to remember that this was not Lincoln Riley's offense, number one, and he is not Caleb Williams.
Yes, we don't have. He's not a world beater. But he's not a world beater. That's not his job.
And he's not that guy. But what I would say is that if you, again, if you just go in there and you have a top 75 defense, period, they probably win 9 games, right?
Yes.
I mean, come on. So
counterpoint.
I guess we can nitpick the hell out of this guy. We could nitpick the hell out of him and forget the fact that they were also learning a new system, and still went out there and they were number 13 in the country. So
exactly.
Counterpoint. I have a go ahead.
I got a counterpoint to that. If there's anything that I could compare somebody to Dillon Gabriel to is, I think he's a better version of AJ McCarron who was missing a defense. Because there was one thing you pointed out, Chris, at one of the games. You kept pointing out how the receivers weren't blocking very well downfield. But when they blocked well downfield, we started getting a whole bunch of runs.
Yeah.
So it was so much inconsistency at that spot. I think that hurt Dillon Gabriel more than his actual play. You see what I'm saying? And I only say that because there were 6 touchdowns freaking dropped. I mean, walking in the end zone just.
Right. Well, Jimmy, I hope that the receiver coach can help them, but you got to just catch the damn football. I'm sorry. At all, Jimmy. When it hits your damn hands, you got to catch the ball. That don't have nothing to do with the receiver coach. That don't have nothing to do with nobody. That has to do with you not looking it in and grabbing it. And yes, Jen, we know he's not Heisman. He's honestly though, I mean, he wasn't that far out of it for a while until they went off and started losing a bunch of games. And again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's Caleb Williams or any of these top level guys. What I'm going to tell you is that you have to, is that you don't need that. You didn't need that. You shouldn't need that. Well, hopefully when you have Brent Venables and you've got some of these guys that are coming in, because I'm looking at some of these dudes like that are going to start. I feel like some of these PJ Adebawari is going to start. There's no two ways around that. He's because you got to get pressure on this quarterback. On these quarterbacks, that was a big problem.
All right, here's another point. Here's another point.
Go ahead.
Shout out to my uncle. He just gave me a point, but this is something else that we got.
Your uncle, man, get him on the show, bro.
No, y'all don't want that. But what I was gonna say is clock management, man. That was another thing that really.
Chris, what did I complain about all the time?
Are you gonna? Jay complaining about it all the time. Hey, clock management.
What did I complain about all the time?
Fellas, though, are you gonna put that one on DG all the time though? Because
I'm not saying that's on Levy. That's Levy. That's
right.
Levy. It was like, hey man, look, I get it. This offense is a Ferrari, but it's not moving like that today. I think it's moving like a 95 Ford would have been. I'm just saying, like,
look though, and I agree with you on a lot of that stuff. And all I'm getting at is that it's hard. It's hard to. I mean, they needed to be perfect in order for them to do. And they literally still lost 4 games by 3 points, another one by 7.
Yep.
So I mean, good grief. I mean, what do you do? What do you do? And
Brent Venables said this when he first came in, and a lot of people glossed over it. He said 2 things. One, you got to give me 3 years.
Yeah,
maybe 2. The second thing he said, we're ripping this to the studs. Most people didn't pay attention to him saying that in his
everybody
pressers.
was drinking that Kool-Aid too quick, boy.
Well, that's the thing. Exactly. Everybody thinking that the house was going to be built within a month and a half instead of 9 months. That's the problem. It's like, hey, no, we're ripping this to the studs. Like we're adding up new sheetrock. We're starting from scratch. And when he said that, I was like, okay. But I think you could turn around faster. But then when I started watching the games, I'm like, oh, this is what you mean. Like we're not ready at all.
No, and here's the thing. I feel like that's a big part of it. This is a different staff than what these kids that were with Lincoln 2 were used to. The way that things were done, the urgency with which things were done, the technical parts of and offensively included, right? There was a lot of things. They're not the same, and these coaches, these coaching staffs don't handle things the same. Period. You got one that's laid back and you got one that's in your grill. And you know what I mean? It's just, that's fine. And discipline and everything else. And sometimes, you know how that is, man. Discipline is the hardest thing for anyone to learn at anything. When you've got habits.
Accountability for sure.
That's right. I mean, you played college sports, Chris. Think about it. You've went through coaching changes, have you not?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what did it do? What did it do? What did it do to your team going through that? Sometimes it can be great. Sometimes it can be really hard.
Yeah. No,
and luckily Venables is a player's coach. Players love him and adore him.
That's the thing.
So,
yeah. Players. I mean
they ain't hard on them though.
Because like I said, man, I think one of the biggest things that we overestimated was the talent that we had. We fell in love with some of the stars. And what I mean by that is just the star system, the star ratings. We fell in love with the rankings that we had on campus from Lincoln's, past regime. And
I've said a bunch of times, man, show me the guys that were these high level talent guys that were here last year. I want to see them. Tell me who they were.
I mean, that was the whole thing. It's just like, last year coming into the season, I was huge. I said, hey, man, I think Stripling is the guy to look for on defense. I think Clayton Smith is going to be able to etch out a spot on that team. I mean, you come in there with high hopes for like Josh Eaton. Josh Eaton had I thought he had a decent spring game, really good spring game.
Had a really good spring game.
Yeah.
Venables raved about him, raved about his hard work.
Mm-hmm. Just some, yeah. And just don't fit what you're trying to do here. But I mean, that's kind of the thing, is that's what you're wanting to see, that next step from a whole bunch of guys. I mean, I think right now, I think the joke or the knock on OU offensively is going to be, what does their wide receiver core look like? What does that look like without Marvin Mims? Do you not have a true number one now? I think Farouk steps into that spot.
I do too.
Drake Stoops is going to be Drake Stoops, but I think that you need Drake to actually be like your 3 or 4 at times. You need those other guys to step up. You got the transfer from Michigan,
Andrell Anthony, yeah,
Jaden Gibson. I mean, hey, if you want to play, it's your turn out there. I think that you have some guys that are probably going to poke their heads out. I mean, obviously Petaway, Keon Brown. I think those are guys as well who could come in and contribute.
Hey, man. They should be able to. Those kids, if you look at their film, they are off the charts good, especially at taking the top off kind of stuff. And Keon Brown is a stud athlete, a straight stud.
Let me ask you guys just real quick, a side note question.
Florida kids, boy.
Woo. Thoughts about DJ Graham this year going and making a transition to wide receiver? You hear a lot of great things about him, but what are your guys?
I heard, and if I'm correct, he had a higher star rating at wide receiver than he did defense, and converted. Now I could be wrong. The reporting could have been wrong on that part, but I heard he's really good at wide receiver. And in the fact he made that interception against Nebraska, I'm stoked to see him actually catching balls. So having him and Farouk basically kind of anchor your wide receiver room, and then get Jaden Gibson and Nick Anderson, in which both of them have already said they want to be the best duo in college football. Mm-hmm. They'll have a chance this year. Like Gibson had one throw in the beginning of the season that basically was sitting in his hands and he dropped it. And I think at that point he ended up in the doghouse and we didn't see him anymore.
Yeah.
That's going to be the game changer. I think those two are the ones that's going to make the biggest difference at the wide receiver, period. And then you'll have Gavin Freeman to be the next Drake Stoops. Him and Stoops are going to be problems just moving around. I mean, Gavin touched the ball his first time in college football and ran it over a dude and ran for a touchdown. You just need to get these guys in open space. And I'm really hoping that we leverage Farouk more in a Peter Ward type role. Let that dude go. When we start letting him catch punts, he was breaking it off. I want more of that.
I think that Jalil Farouk is about to have a big season. I think he's about to have a big season.
No excuse if he doesn't. No excuse.
No, there isn't. And the thing is one thing about, Levy, he's not – you're either going to get in there and perform or he's not going to put you in the game. I mean, that's really what happened with Theo last year. He started looking good towards the end of the season, but he was in Levy's doghouse for a very good part of the year because he wasn't performing in practice. And what he keeps saying – now, when he shows it to us in practice, then he'll get in the game, not until, and so, and as much as I love Theo Weiss, I mean, but I just feel like it was one of them deals where he kind of, he just
tapered off. I mean,
he did.
That was the thing, that 3-star, that 5-star trio that we got, man, it's just crazy to think what could have possibly happened. But I do I do
But
go
when you
back.
do things different, it's different for these guys too. You know, they came into a system running it like Lincoln, and it's not, as much as it may look like it sometimes, this is not the same thing.
No, it's not.
You know,
Remember, J.J. Hester's out there too. You know,
Yeah,
he's a 6'4"
JJ
wide receiver that was
yes,
transferred
sir.
from
I do
Missouri,
like it.
as well as L.V.
Yes, sir.
Buckley. That was mentioned by James a minute ago. That we gotta remember, we got those two also. I do think that Nick Anderson as well as Gibson get some game. I think they rotate in and start to work on them becoming the new anchors in the future. But adding Farouk
Right.
with Buckley, Shelton, as well as J.J. Hester, there's no excuse for us to not. We got huge wide receivers. Period.
right.
They're huge, 6'2" plus. Just about all of them.
Hey man, that's what you need.
One of the things that I think there's two things that we need to like really put heavy emphasis on is one, the run game. Again, I think Barnes and Sawchuk are going to be able to get the job done. If Marcus Majors can stay healthy, I think that's really your three-headed monster right there.
That's right.
And I think that at some point Sawchuk probably takes those snaps.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Sawchuk and Barnes are both. They're the guys. They're the guys. And
They're
if
locked.
you're gonna, and I feel like Majors is, I don't know. I think we may see the end of him.
Yeah, I think Meg will take his spot.
That's the thing, is that we got to wait till the spring, because when the spring game, that's going to be an interesting time for us.
What are these freshmen going to do? I mean, you brought in two unbelievably good freshmen, running backs that, I mean, they're going to. These are guys that you may need to put them. You may need to get them some time to keep them.
Yeah,
you're gonna hear this from me though. You'll hear me keep saying this over and over. Mecca Megwa was a 4-star running back out of Texas before he tore his ACL and didn't even really play at Washington. He's healthy and he's here. Mm-hmm. He's 6'2", and he's probably bigger now. I mean, he could be a stout back he might take Major's spot. I hate to say it, but we'll see. And he's only 19. He's a sophomore, so he's young.
Yeah, but listen, once you go through one of those injuries, when you go through those injuries, you just don't know how they're going to respond.
I know who my two guys are, but we'll see what's going to happen. But the second part that I would say, Levy loves those heavy personnel packages. So, who is going to emerge as tight end 2? Is Llewellyn? How do you say?
I think Llewellyn's hurt. I think he broke his foot or something like that.
But like coming back, I'm like, is he going to actually still be the blocker, or is he going to be a guy that's out there actually catching passes? Obviously, I think everybody in here, even in the chat, wants Caden Helms to be that guy who steps up and becomes that guy. And I think that he could play off a guy like Stogner as well, because he's more versatile. Like I said, he's a Grant Calcaterra in my opinion. Just taller and with more weight.
I like that.
I think that he has that potential to be that good. We just have to see it. I mean, that's the thing. Right. Is his blocking at an adequate level to where he can actually get out there on the field and be able to, be a honestly just a versatile tight end.
Folks, Blake Smith,
real quick, guys. If folks wanted to thank everybody for coming in here once again. If hit that like button, make sure that you're hitting that like button. It's important for us to get out there to everybody. If you're not already a subscriber to the show, please do that, and make sure that you get over there and subscribe to the Horns Down podcast and at Unfair Sports as well. These guys are two of the best that do it, period, out there. That's why I love having them on the show. Coach is out today. He had his grandson's basketball game, so he isn't here tonight, but he's I definitely enjoy having you guys in. Now, so make sure, hit that like button and go over there and subscribe if you hadn't already, man. But thanks a lot, everybody, for being in here. Real quick, guys, looking at this, give me a prediction. I mean, we talked 10-2. I'm looking at around 9-3. What would you predict here? And then let's talk this Texas schedule too. Give me a prediction, Chris, for Oklahoma, and then you do the same there, Jay.
I want to say 10-2.
Okay. All right.
And I'm gonna say the two toughest games on the schedule. I think there's 3 actually. No, I'll say it's 4. I think the 4 toughest games I think will be TCU, BYU. This is gonna be funny, but I'm gonna say it. I think Kansas.
Oh, that's not funny. I agree.
I also think Texas will be a bit of a dicey game to start. If we just need to make it to the second half because we know how that goes for Texas. So
sure,
and keep a healthy quarterback too. So
we got depth for a change.
We got a shot.
We got depth for a change. I'll say that. I'm kind of with who's it? Sean. I'm with Sean B. What's good, man?
Hanky.
On the I'd be satisfied with 9-3. But I'm kind of at Hank. I think that's going to be 11-1, and to be honest, I think that loss is probably going to be BYU on the road. And this is why I say that. Cincinnati is still in kind of turmoil. They lost Luke Fickell, and they started losing recruits right afterwards.
Yes,
players
they did.
Transferring out, so they're still trying to figure it out with their new
McCullough
coach.
because of that.
Right, we got Day and Deshaun exactly, and I don't know what their transfer portal looks like. I got to go dig into them. So if I'm going to early reaction, I think we beat them. I think we beat UCF, even though they're a solid team with Gus Malzahn. He's a really good coach. The Kansas game is going to be tough, but I think traveling to BYU will probably, if there's a game we lose, it'll either be traveling to BYU or it'll probably be UCF coming to the house. I think it'd be one of the other teams that would beat us this time around, mainly because we ain't playing K-State this year. Thank God.
And that was one of the next points that I wanted to make. And we're going to get into this we're going to get into that in just a second. So before we go too crazy with that. All right. So I'm kind of with you on that. I can see 10-2. I'm going to go with 9-3. I feel like if you're probably still looking at some stumbling, you still got a young football team. I think that, aside from your quarterback, I think that, expecting them to go 11-1's could I see it? Sure. But a lot of things are going to have to fall in place for that to happen. Now, the losses that I would see was if you were going to have, looking at probably the BYU, I would agree with you on that. Kansas, UCF, those would probably be the three. And then, we'll see what's up with TCU. I don't really
know. I give Texas respect too.
And I think that you could get a bad hangover from what just happened to you in that national title game. I'm sorry. But that's shell shocking for real. So you know what I mean? I don't know that they recover that well from that. I think that they kind of slid by some games, man. I just do.
One of the biggest things to remember as well is that with I don't think Kendall Browse necessarily scares anybody.
No.
And Joe Klatt said this when he was talking about Oklahoma compared to like a TCU, saying that we could be the TCU next season, that TCU won 5 games in the one score possessions.
Right. And
so basically the same. We were the opposite. We were the opposite. It's like it was a complete flip. So them getting out the skin of their teeth,
say what would have happened in the TCU game if DG doesn't go down right there.
Right? We could eventually came back, maybe. I don't
know. It was pretty bad
seniors,
already, but it was
the super seniors helped them a lot, though. That's the big thing, and they don't have that. Experience is key.
Look, I'm a Sonny Dykes fan. I don't have a problem with him at all. I think that they had a great season. I think that they, like Coach has said a few times on here, that they got a couple of lucky breaks here and there. They took advantage of them, and then you kind of get on a roll, and you believe that you can do it all year. They even did it against Michigan. Now, as soon as it fell apart just as quick as it came together in the Georgia game. But I don't see them. You got to back that one up, and I think that's a hard thing to do when you just got skull drug in the national title game, in front of God and everybody. So, it's just one of them deals where that's a tough one. You know what I mean?
Look at the transfers out. They had some players that were borderline contributors gone on the offensive side. So they've still got some stuff to fix, just like everybody else.
Yeah, and again, I think that the Big 12 is look, it was we're talking about the league that was probably the toughest the entire season. I think I'm with Sean on that one, is that, and now you don't have to play the round robin, which is what made it a real gauntlet. But I still feel like you could lose any of these games. And I feel like, somebody said it in here earlier, Jalen Daniels could be the league MVP. I absolutely agree with that. If that kid stays healthy, If that kid stays healthy, Kansas is an animal, because I mean they should have won 8 or 9 games a year ago. He was hurt for what 4, 5, 6 games. You know what I mean? After going 5-0.
But my thing with this right here, I think Texas and
I still think Texas is going to be fine.
Right?
Well,
I say this. No, what I'm trying to say is that Jay has heard me say this before. There are certain games on your schedule that people take from the years from the previous years that they use as blueprint games. Although Kansas is finally fielding an 85-man roster right now, as even though they are feeling really good about themselves, even though Jalen Daniels is really talented,
right?
Run the damn ball. They are not built just to stop you. Stop them. Don't let them get into their gadget play system. Don't let them get some confidence about themselves. Run the damn ball. Run it at them. Run it again. Lean on your offensive line. Run the damn ball. Texas shows you how to beat them, and then a lot of other teams shows you how to beat them as well.
Look, man, Texas shows you how to get beat too by not running. It shows
you how to get
ball.
Beat, but at the same time, last year,
we saw success with that Wildcat.
Yeah.
If they would have kept running it, there may have been a chance of more success, but they kept trying to switch it up and pretend like they were going to throw. Yeah. They should have threw out young quarterback and just let him a little bit sling it, but really run the ball. But like you said, Chris, perfect point. Look at the way that our wide receivers were blocking and the way we were running. Levy's offense is a run offense. What made it so fast, too, was that we kept getting 10 yards per run on a lot of plays, and then we get 1 yard. And then we'd get 9 yards. Yeah. And then we'd get 1 and 2 and 3, and then we'd punt. So if we continue establishing the run like we've been doing and wide receivers actually freaking block every single possession, his offense is set up to run the ball constantly, and we've got 2 backs to do that.
How the hell did Baylor manage to get 8 freaking home games? Are you? Wow.
Because they had their non-conferences were already set.
Right.
And so they had to switch it up, and the only way they looked out. Except for, I don't think that Utah game is going to be easy.
No.
I think Texas is going to be a really hard game for them.
Of course it is.
At home. And I think Houston's going to give them problems at home.
Right.
So, they looked out.
I don't know about Houston. I think that as long as Dana's there, I think they suck, man. I'm not with them. After what I saw last week, it was, or last season from them and that crap on the sidelines and then him saying that it didn't have nothing to do with him. Dude, you're the coach of that freaking football team for the last 4 years. It has everything to do with you.
Kuz agree with you on that one, definitely. But Houston's got 7 home games. We got 6 home, 5 road, and then the neutral. So
right. No, I was just saying 8 of them. That's just a weird thing to look at up there, you know. So anyway, all right. So real quick, let's take a look at this Texas one, and then I want to get into. I asked on Twitter for everybody to give me their thoughts. What was their biggest takeaway? I've got some good Twitter responses. I know some of the folks that are in here in the comments have done so as well. So I want to get to some of that as well. But Texas, obviously, looking at them, obviously they start off on September 2nd with Rice pulling the USC. Then they get, Alabama, though, on the road. I actually don't think that that's as hard. I think that if you're going to beat Alabama, it should be right here, right now, if you're going to do it, right? And even though it's on the road, because of the fact that you've got a new quarterback, you're going to have a new play caller. And, I think that if you're going to do it, it should be right now. They should have done it a season ago, but it should definitely be then. Then they've got – is that Wyoming on – on the 16th,
Cowboys,
before they get into their conference schedule, opening it up on the road at Baylor, and then they got Kansas. That may be their trap game before the Oklahoma deal. So, what do you see them starting off at? What do you see their schedule as overall, Jay?
I'm looking at Texas, and I said this before. I mean, I get everyone believing that Texas has got a brutal one. I don't. They don't leave the state but twice. That's helpful. That's a helpful piece to me, is you only leave for Alabama and you leave to Ames, Iowa, which that'll be a tough game for them because Iowa State's defense and Matt Campbell's always prepared. But when I look through what they're dealing with, I mean, they got a good chance of winning at least 8 games again, if not 10. I see 2 losses in this one. I see 2 losses total. I see us. I see Alabama, and I'm only saying us because, of course, I can't pick Texas to ever beat us. That's just against my religion and life. So I say those 2 losses. If they have a third, it's probably BYU coming into. Actually, it's Kansas State coming into town. Or like you said, the Kansas game could be a trap game going against Oklahoma if Jay is healthy and Kansas is healthy. That actually may be it. They may go lose 2 straight after that and start the season. I was at 3-3, and then from there just rile off and destroy everybody for the rest of the season after the bye.
3-3. Wow. Okay.
So there's a chance they can start that. That will be Alabama loss, and then the Kansas.
They go
3-3.
If they go 3-3, they could go real bad. Do we see an early Arch Manning?
No.
What do you mean no?
Yeah.
I think you do.
Malik.
It would be stupid, but they would.
Malik.
That whole fan base is going to be screaming for Arch if they start off 3-3. And all those big money boosters, bro. Come on now.
If they
You've seen this at Texas before.
Look,
I know you have.
Look, if they start out 3-3, I'm not worried about Arch Manning. I'm worried about Sark.
And they would
because
Sark
is going to have to
put
he's going to put Arch in and himself.
I'm not. Like I said, I'm not worried about anything in the quarterback room or on the field. I'm worried about Sark's job. He's 13-12 over the past 2 seasons. We could talk about this standalone season and say year 2 they progressed and they've recruited well in the trenches.
He's 500, baby.
He's 13-12 over the last 2 seasons. People need to recognize that. There is a small chorus of Texas fans that will tell you he's 13-12 over the past 2 seasons, and I'm not satisfied. And
he's barely over that for his career in the Pac-12 even.
Yes.
Yeah, 7-win Sark is what they call him for a reason.
That's what he is. That's what the dude is.
He doesn't make second half adjustments. And I've listened to Texas fans say this all the time, and they're right. He has a problem with second half adjustments, and I don't think Quinn Ewers or Arch Manning are good enough. I don't even think Malik Murphy is good enough to outplay their coaching. I don't think they're good enough to walk out there, be the world beater.
Well, and when you're a coordinator, your head coach can be like, "Yo, run the football."
Scale it back.
You've got the Oklahoma State game where they're up 7 freaking team points in the third, and Bijan's not getting the football. And it's like, what are you doing, bro? And they just coughed it away a little by little by little. And it's like, dude, I mean, it's not even a big adjustment you got to make. Just stop throwing the stupid football.
Yeah, you don't need to blow everybody out.
It was so dumb. So dumb. And but anyway, I mean, yeah, I agree with you. So okay, you're saying starting off with maybe 3-3, but probably 2 losses. Where do you feel they finish out, Jay? I mean, they're going to go 9-3. They're going to go 10-2.
I think they finish 9-3. There's no excuse for them to not win every game after that. They should be able to pull out the Houston game. BYU is going to be tough, because if I'm correct, their quarterback's coming back. And then from there, Kansas State, they're still trying to figure out who their quarterback situation looks like. TCU saying Iowa.
Jay, come on, man. K-State, I got to stop you right there. K-State, Will Howard, come on, man.
I'm not sold on Will Howard.
Nobody's sold on Will Howard, but Will Howard balled out towards the end of the year. They're a completely different team.
Well, he certainly balled out against Okie Light.
He did. I am not going to disagree. I'm just not sold on him yet. But we'll see. Iowa State's got to figure out what their quarterback's going to be. I don't know what the heck's going on there. And then Tech, they're always a tough one. And they play on Friday. I think that was kind of odd for us, too. Texas plays on – they seem to play on Black Friday often. We don't, and we're playing TCU on Black Friday. That was interesting to me also. Just a side note.
Okay. What about you, Chris? Where are you at on these boys?
On Texas, this is what I have. Let's see. Okay, win, loss. I don't know, because Baylor's going to be tough. Alabama, obviously, is going to be a tough game for them. I think Kansas is kind of a toss-up, and then they'll have us. So, yeah, I could definitely see them being 3-3 to start. Let me see. I'm going to say that out of those 6 games, they'll end up 4-2. I think that Houston is going to be a tough game for them simply because
They don't want to
Houston.
play it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they may not want to play, but yeah, Houston's going to be up for that. The crowd is going to be in the game. All the rest, they're going to take that crowd out of it. And then BYU is a game where are they going to be too physical for Texas? Because I think BYU is going to be a team that comes out there and just wants to be gritty the entire time. K-State, same thing, but how do they recoup? Because not only are you losing, you're losing Deuce Vaughn. Let's just be honest with you. So, like I said, I still see them going 9-3 at the worst. I think they have a chance to be better than that, but I would say
should they be better? Yeah, I think that. Yeah. Okay, and here's the thing, and this is where I'm at on it too. And Hank just kind of gave me, some pause in that. Should they win 9 games? Absolutely. Should they win 10 games? Absolutely. Will they? I don't know. I once in his career has he won a 9. I mean, he's only won 9 games once. He's never won 10. He's 7-win Sark, bro. Yeah. So to me, you could see them there. Of course, they're going to beat Rice. They're probably going to lose the Alabama game, even though if they were going to win one, they should do it there. They'll beat Wyoming. But I definitely could see, like Kansas has been their kryptonite, even though they busted them up last year, and they may have shown the blueprint to beat them, like you said. But I could see them losing that one. They're definitely losing to OU. They're losing to Baylor. So there's 3 losses. Then, yeah, they get BYU at home, but I just don't know. I mean, to me, where are they at that point? If they've already got 3 losses by the time they get through the Oklahoma game, where do they go from there? When they lost the Oklahoma game 2 years ago, that started a streak of losing games in the second half. That what was it? 5 games in a row? So can he get it turned around? Maybe, but again, I'm kind of with Hank on that. At some point, you need to show it before I'm gonna give it to you. So I feel like he's probably closer to 8 games. I feel like, again, I think he should win 10 games. I think that Oklahoma and Texas should be playing for the conference championship on their way out of the conference. But until I see it from Sark, I just don't believe in the dude. I just do not believe in the guy. And so
that's fair.
Look, Jimmy, and maybe they don't. But when have they beaten them lately? And there's something about. Well, it seems like Aranda's like 1 year they're good, 1 year they're not. 1 year, we're gonna find out. But I could see them. I could definitely see Baylor kind of struggling. I don't know that I believe that much in their quarterback either. But they've got a nice running back room. They've got a really nice running back room, and they're going to be better on defense. You have to believe that. I just feel like I'm going to say 8-4, but they should win 10. You know what I mean? I feel like they should win 10. But I do feel like that if it gets ugly, it could get really ugly because you're going to have a bunch of people screaming for Arch Manning. I don't know that Sark can hold that off. I don't think that he has the spine for it. I just don't. And what's going to happen then? It could get really bad really quick,
I agree with all of that. I mean, it could get really bad because the thing about it is people are going to start creeping up, and this is year 3. And a lot of Texas faithful are saying that, some Texas fans are going to say, oh, he needs 5 years, he needs this. But when have you ever seen Texas go that long with the coach, And the thing about it is if you see the lack of success, ask yourself this question. Was Texas better with Tom Herman?
Absolutely, it was.
Was Nebraska better with Bo Pelini? You know what I'm saying? So I mean right. There's just certain questions.
Man, I was telling the Lone Star guys earlier today that Texas has still not been relevant since 15 years, 12, 15 years. Brown. It's just silly since Mac left. Yeah. So until you actually do it, then beat on your chest all you want to and get top 5 recruiting classes, top 3 recruiting classes all you want to. I don't care. You go win. Go do it. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I could see them definitely losing some of those. Now, I do want to get to some of these other deals. We were talking a little bit about the next thing here. Let's go to Well, we'll talk Okie Light in a minute. Okay, so the schedule tweets. Let's talk some schedule tweets. We had a few of those that were coming in there pretty good. Let me stop sharing this real quick. Let me go with that. All right. So you had, oops, wrong one. Here we go. Overlays. Come on, Jason. Get it together here. All right, we're going to start with Jen. Actually jumped in there first off and foremost, and she said, I wanted redemption against K-State, but whatever. Now, this is where I wanted to kind of start with anyways, because I got to tell you, as an Oklahoma fan, this did not bother me in the least. I more wanted to see them play Baylor again, but that may just be because of Logan from the Lone Star guys. But I definitely, look, man, these guys have been a pain in the ass for freaking 25 years. And it just kind of is what it is on that. I think that I had some agreement with some of the folks, Bobby was talking about, damn K-State been our kryptonite. And so was Jager talking about circling that game kind of every year. What do you guys think on that? And the K-State, just not having K-State, I know everybody kind of would have liked to have avenged that loss from a year ago and then being the conference champions. But still,
I don't think go ahead, Jay. Go ahead.
Oh, no. Go ahead, Chris. No, you lead the way on this one.
I'm just going to say, hey, look, ain't nobody running from anybody if that's what people want to say. But my biggest thing is that, it's a good thing, in my opinion, that we don't have them. Look, Kleinman is a damn good coach. He knows what he's doing. And the thing about it is that K-State will always be built on grit, spit, dirt, and exploits. They want to exploit every single matchup that they possibly can. They know they're not better than you talent-wise, but in some area, in some aspect, or in some scheme that they have drawn up for you, especially OU, they just have your number. And that it just is what it is. But I know that we could beat K-State, but it's just one of those things, So not having to go to Manhattan is definitely a good thing, because now you don't have that. I guess the question is with that game off of your schedule, is do you actually have a true test early on in the season to kind of figure out, are we real or are we not? Because are we going to have to wait until the Texas game now to actually figure out if we're actually a good team?
Right. No, I agree. I would agree with that. But I feel like, and Kim said something, Big 12 championship would allow for a revenge game like that. Yeah. I think that if you catch them there, that's a good thing. And again, I'm not going to go too crazy with this Big 12 championship game or getting it. I mean, it's, to me, they're still, we got to prove it too. OU needs to make, to prove, and they still got some youngsters too. So I'm trying to hold back on drinking the Kool-Aid just too much just yet. But yeah, everybody's had a problem with, hey, you're right, Jimmy. Everybody, 25 years, I said, they've been a pain in our ass for 25 years, man. I still remember the year that they lost to LSU in the national title game, and they got punched in the Big 12 championship game
by K-State.
And they just kind of didn't recover from that, it didn't seem like,
Nope.
So it is.
No, you're right. It makes me think, like with K-State, that it reminds me of TCU when they were in the Mountain West, and how when we played them, they would give us problems too. TCU was another team that just would give us hell for no reason.
All the freaking time. Yeah.
Why has Gary Patterson got Bob Stoops' number? I'm tired of this mess. Right. But I'm glad we're not playing K-State this season. I prefer them not to play them this year. I think that's a good break. Let us just not see them. Hopefully in the Big 12 championship, then we can get revenge. But until then, I don't want to see them.
That'd be great. That's a better place to play them anyways, because it's for something, So Corey kind of backed that up too. My boy Corey at the Big 12 country. You get two of the three biggest pain in our asses off the table in Baylor and KSU. ISU doesn't scare me. You get to shatter the Pokes at home one last damn time, and you get conference champions and national runner-ups. The conference champs and national runner-ups at home to close. You get swings in Provo and Cincy. He also had on there. He was hyped about it. So, kind of agreeing with some of that. And then Boomercast podcast came in behind him saying he agrees that the schedule sets up very well. Anybody that thinks that the schedule sets up OU for disaster is just saying stuff to say stuff. Provo is a nice town, real clean. However, the barbecue is not anything to write home about. Cincy's probably going to be the toughest conference game on the slate. I don't know about that. Corey said it's as simple as this. They were going to do whatever they could to not give a favorable schedule within the restraints of this weird situation. When you factor in all with this schedule, you really can't be mad. I got to agree with you. We
don't leave the state but 3 times. And like I said, it's Dallas, it's Oklahoma.
And you're gonna bitch slap Okie Light, man. It's just gonna happen. So
you got Dallas, Oklahoma, and then you travel to freaking Lawrence, Provo, and up to Cincinnati. Like, what other? Every other road game is in state. You're not going anywhere. It's so much better than the thought of having to travel to Ames and just any of these other going to Manhattan. We were supposed to be in Manhattan this year, right? Didn't they come here and beat us?
Well, how much is how weird is it that, like, how much do you think this schedule has to do with, kind of getting off topic here, but how much of it has to do with this weird contract situation that, they didn't, do you think, I think some of that has to do with, it has to, right?
And they had to figure out ways to mix in.
And right.
Yeah. You had to mix in the new teams too. You had to figure out how to mix them in. And the best way, honestly, was not making us go to Lubbock, not making us go to Waco, and not making us go up to Manhattan, and sending us instead to Provo, Cincinnati. And I mean,
right. At least that way, because we don't have to go 2 times in a row to the same spot or whatever it was. I agree with you on that. Yeah. And I think that also, though, but I also feel like a lot of it had to do with the fact that they're trying to get us out of here. We're not really trying to pay the full buyout.
Oh, no, we're not. We already told them no. And they were like, well, we'd like you to leave early, sure, but we're not going to pay the full amount.
No, so, and I don't feel like it's going to happen. I mean, me and Kuz were arguing about that on one of my last ones. And, it was like, look, you can't have your cake and eat it too on that. You're just not going to do it. Because, and the truth is I was kind of with Corey on it when he was like, you know what, if you can afford it, just do it. Throw that middle finger up and go. Oh. But, I mean, I get it because it's a petty way to leave. Mm-hmm. And then you go get paid and you get all the riches from the SEC. I get it. But what I was saying is the other side of me says to hell with that, because why would we do that when
why do them a favor?
Yeah, right. Exactly. And I mean, it was an investment. The bottom line is what they did was an investment, and Oklahoma should not be paying for that investment, or Texas. You know what I mean? Their investment of bringing in those teams before they negotiated their new television deal. You know what I mean? They make money off of that. So I don't want to hear it. Anyway, next one's up. So yeah, again, I feel like it does set up well when you look at it, in there. There was some from earlier. Let's see. I know James said something that I liked here. Yeah, he was talking. He kind of wished that we had K-State on the schedule as well. And then the biggest takeaway was Provo is ugly in November. Why do you think that? It's a pretty place, man. Salt Lake is a beautiful place, period.
Yeah, Provo's nice, and Provo's, if I'm correct, it's right deserty like Colorado. Like, Colorado, and the major portions of it, the big cities, more deserty. It's dry.
It is.
So it's going to be high altitude. It'll be dry.
That whole area around there, it's too bad they put Utah there because it's beautiful. It's
the mountains are beautiful there.
Oh man,
we just won't be dealing with all of that. They won't be dealing with cold winds like cutting winds like we get in Oklahoma. It's just gonna be a drier cold, and I can take the altitude.
Fair, absolutely. I'm with you on that. Yeah, man, and and then let's see. This one was funny. No Baylor, no K-State. OU's 12-0 next year. That was the mayor in Norman. That wasn't actually on mine, but I found it, thought it was funny, so I threw it up there. So
that's pretty good.
Folks, again, I appreciate it. If you're enjoying the content, make sure that you hit that like button. Get over to Unfair Sports, and if you're not already a subscriber, which most of you probably are, but do it anyway if you're not. Same with the Horns Down podcast. We got to get him up over that 1,000 mark. It's time to move. These guys are putting out some amazing content week after week after week. So make sure that you're doing that for them. And hit that like button, man. It helps a lot. I don't know how many likes we got, but we need it. Next up, let's see. Okay. So Yeah, we did the schedule tweets. We're kind of looking at the master schedule. Let's talk a little bit about what is you guys' take so far. I mean, obviously, what an amazing end of the year that Oklahoma had when you start talking recruiting. And what is your take on the momentum from that heading into Junior Elite Day this past weekend? And what are your expectations on some of these guys? Who are you expecting, or what are you seeing so far? Either one of you, jump in.
I was just going. Hey, look, KJ Bolden is a guy that just really jumps out to me. And I know a lot of people want him back there in that safety room. Obviously, we can talk about David Stone. Was that you on Ty's pod when you said he could be the cornerstone of this class, Jay? It was either you or Drew. Yeah, well, yeah. So I mean, it was him. You have him, then also the Winery kid. But, I mean, those are three kids that poke out to me like a sore thumb. But, I mean, this recruiting class, you were able to you lose the kid to that flipped back to Texas, his hometown, you know. But
Colton Vasek.
Yeah, you go and get Taylor Wynn, who
Taylor Wynn is better. I think he's better.
Yeah, some people will say, hey, I think he's actually better than Vasek. But, I mean, you got a lot of steals. You got a lot of good wins. And the thing about it is that we may have not got the interior D-line guys that we wanted, but as far as the edges that we wanted as well. PJ Adebare, we talked about
bro,
in past.
Unbelievable.
That's a guy that could come out there and help you now.
My number one.
Excuse me. But like I said, I mean, then also in the transfer portal, you didn't go out there and you know, get a big name or a superstar guy, but you went out there and got guys who have that potential
that need to play, and they've been playing. Yes.
Yeah, and they've been playing. And so you took a gamble with like Trace Ford, but if that gamble pays off, you're going to get a hell of a player if he can stay healthy.
I just hope he plays for Oklahoma State. That's all I want to see out of him for sure.
The Boythroyd kid, I think that is just really interesting with him because obviously I think there's a level of comfort with him, seeming that they've coached against him these past couple of years being at Clemson.
That was an amazing pickup there, man. I've watched more tape on Bothroyd. That dude is freaking nasty.
You watched North Carolina tape where he took out the quarterback and the running back at the same time. God, it cracks me up every time I watch that video.
Bro, that dude is got an attitude. He's just angry on the field. I love it. I love it. That's what you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He's one of those dudes you can light him up right now and get him pissed off before the game, and he'll go to halftime probably. You know what I mean? That's just one of them dudes. You know, it's just frothing at the mouth. I love it. That's what I want to see BV doing. Come on.
To add to kind of what Chris was saying, like for the 23 class itself, there's a common theme with that class, and honestly, with this Junior Elite Day they recently had, is that Venables is. He's replacing the house. He ripped it to the studs, and majority of the players are defensive players. D-line, linebackers, safeties, cheetahs. He's basically refilling his pantry on the defensive side and leveraging the current offensive players we have. Because if anything, Riley and them were fantastic at getting offensive weapons.
Sure.
We just needed defensive guys that could play in the right scheme.
Well, I think so they've been refilling what they had on offense. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And you have a world-beating quarterback, so it's a different animal. But I think that with the system, we'll be able to be successful in that part. But looking at this Junior Day, 13 of the 23 kids that came out for Elite Junior Day, defensive players. So from the 24 class. So you've got a whole bunch of just defense focus. It's from them. Like the whole goal is to get this defense to be top 20 quickly. If he can get this defense top 20 and we maintain a top 15 offense, it's undefeated season. There's a good chance for it.
Yeah.
And we're pushing for it. We're pushing for it very fast. And so I'm impressed with it. Just like Chris mentioned, PJ Adebare is my number one in that in the 23 class.
Unbelievable.
Love Jackson Arnold. No shade to him. PJ Adebare is mine. Yeah. He reminds me of Javon Curse. He's got that freakishness to him that he gets around people fast. Watching him in the All-American game,
bro,
my goodness. Oh my God.
Oh, he was unreal. And then Lewis, the linebacker,
Carter.
Ooh, I like
And
him
Derek
a lot
LeBlanc.
too. Derek LeBlanc as well. But I got to tell you, I was at the All-American Bowl in San Antonio. And so I got to watch Makari.
So you saw
Vickers.
Sammy.
Bruh. Makari Vickers and Sammy Omosiho were nasty. And
seatbelt boy.
But seatbelt, yeah, he had a seatbelt around them kids. There was nobody throwing his way. There was nobody even trying to throw his way. And he almost had a pick on a ball thrown 20 yards from him that he broke on it and still almost got there. And his dad's like, oh, he should have had that. I was laughing, but it wasn't his guy. And then the same with Sammy. The thing about Sammy was, and he was out there a lot when Dante Moore was in. And I'm going to tell you, if there's a better quarterback in the country than Dante, wow. Because that dude, he has arm talent in a way. It's not about throwing it deep or whatever. The dude throws people open. He will stare down the barrel. This guy was a stud, straight up. But he had to make the hard throws because Sammy was taking away all his underneath stuff, his tight ends, his running backs out of the backfield. He was putting pressure on them as well. Listen, I was super impressed with these guys. Super, super impressed with these guys. And with seatbelt, bro, they just didn't. They didn't even try him. They did not try him. They moved him around different places. I asked him. I said, "Did you get bored?" He goes, "Well, kind of." But I mean, I think it was like that for him all week. That literally they just weren't They weren't even trying the kid. He told me on my show when we had him on here a couple months ago that he was going to be a freshman All-American. I believe him. You know what I mean? I believe him because it's just how athletic he was.
Right.
And then obviously you can't forget about Peyton Bowen. He's, this guy's, a top level player too. Look, we're going to find out what this defense is about pretty quick. I think there's still going to be a learning curve for some of these guys, but talent wise, they're not having a problem there. This is not an issue. So I would say that I'm in agreement with you that this could get better quick. Do you give them a little leeway? I do. But that being said, I can also see it changing. And by next year, for sure, they're going into the SEC, really loaded to bear. That was something else. There's a lot of reports out there that that's the next thing is that announcement should be coming soon, that they will be in the SEC. They're already behind the 8 ball when it comes to that on time. It was supposed to be at the end of December. Of course, they can, move around that. But
right.
It seems to me like that's a definite coming in. I would hope that it is. I think it's probably all about the buyout that we were talking about earlier. So, Anyway.
I agree.
One last thing. Let's talk some trash about Okie Light. So let me go back to the schedule. What do we think? Look, man, these guys – they added a co-defensive coordinator that was a Division III coach this week. What the hell? And nobody's even giving him a hard time about it, except for one guy. Cody does. Nobody else is giving it.
Bro, I ain't gonna lie. I was like, who the hell? I was like, who the hell is this guy? Kind of like The Rock. I was like, who in the blue?
Who this? Yeah, who this?
But hey, look, I'm happy. I don't know. I mean, Oklahoma State is a dumpster fire right now. I really don't know what they're gonna do. Some of my Okie friends are like, some of my Okie-like friends are like, hey man, 5 wins is the floor. 8 wins is a great season for us.
You high, bruh. They're high. There's no way.
I'm sorry, but Gundy is still a good coach, man. As much crap as we could give him, Gundy's still a good coach.
He's that damn good. More with less. He ain't that damn good. Get out of here with that. Come on.
More with less for years.
Wait a minute. They don't even have a quarterback, and I didn't think they had much of one before.
Bowman is.
Oh please, bro! What has he done?
Hey, get off of my back, man! I'm trying to carry y'all right now to the promised land with this Okie Light stuff, bro. Look. They're gonna be fine. They're gonna be fine.
What? Okay.
I'm about to sign off on that one. I mean, Chris is so nice. Bro, that's what it is.
This is not what we had you in here for. That's not why I asked you.
He's got to be trolling. He's got to be trolling in some capacity. But he is true. He's right though. He is right that Gundy coaches up 3 stars like crazy. I don't know how he does it.
He used to. He still never won. bro.
I mean, look at what they did 2 years ago.
They've okay, and
Now,
they
look,
choked it up right at the end. Come on.
I'll be real with you. Their 3 wins, they may start off the season 3-0 because I don't really know what to expect from Arizona State, to be quite frank with you.
Dillingham's a coach, bro. If he gets a quarterback, they're in trouble.
That's the question. Does he have a quarterback? Because
I'm not sure
literally, Arizona State has players have abandoned them after the Herman Edwards situation. They've just been dipping. So I don't know what he's bringing in. I mean, he got Clayton Smith.
They got to deal with K-State and Kansas. They lost both of them this year with a better team. They lost to West Virginia. They've got Cincinnati up. You know they're getting smoked. There ain't no way Oklahoma loses to them last one out. I could see that 5 wins is 5-6 wins is their ceiling for me.
Oh, wow. Jay, please. Jay, break the tie. Break the tie,
Come on,
Jay.
man. You guys got to be serious. Come on.
Break the tie, Jay.
I'm looking at them now. I see 3, 4. I see 6 wins.
Okay,
I see 6.
Okay, let's put it like this. And Jay, I'll let you go. Jason, can we all 3 agree that Oklahoma State will be bowl eligible next year?
This
I
season,
can agree with you there.
in 2023?
Yes.
Oh, no, I can't agree with that. I don't think
I
so.
can.
All right, I can see it.
Bro, I can go bowling.
Would you wait a minute? With all the guys they lost and who they've added, that's what you think. And their new defensive coordinator, they went from, come on, fellas, they went to a D3 dude on defense. They still haven't hired
He could
Hill.
be a prodigy. He could be a prodigy.
Oh, man. What? Fellas, come on, man. This dude is mediocrity at best. And that's what he is. And look, in this BS that you can't recruit at Oak Eli is silly. It's silly.
I went back and looked at their classes. They don't bring in players.
But that doesn't mean you can't.
They haven't brought in a 5-star in like 15 years.
Bro, yeah, because he's been there for 15 years or 18 years.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing. They've been better underneath him than they've been.
Jimmy Johnson could win. Jimmy Johnson could win there. Then freaking Les could win there. You know,
but Les wasn't there very long. Les was there very short.
Well, bro, come on, man. All I'm gonna say is this padding your schedule like they do in the front, and then getting so close to that conference championship, but never doing it. It shouldn't be enough anymore for these folks. But I hope they keep him forever. I do. I'm with you there. But no, they don't go bowling. No way. It ain't happening, bro.
I mean, there's only 2 coaches I'm looking now really in Oklahoma State history that's won 10 games. Pat Jones and Mike Gundy. Nobody else has won 10 games.
Les Miles never won 10 games?
Nope.
No, and he should have too. But he wasn't even there that long.
He went 4-7, 8-5, 9-4, 7-5, and then bounced. He only lasted 4 years.
Right.
So yeah, that 9-4 season is what got him the LSU job. Well, yeah, that's what got him the LSU job because Michigan wasn't available yet. So yeah, I mean, Gundy's
they dodged a bullet there, didn't they? Michigan.
I don't know. He got a championship over there.
I mean, yeah, he got a title at LSU. He probably would have been better at Michigan than he was staying at LSU. He should have left that year. He should have left after the national championship. He should have left.
He sure should have. Yeah,
he got too comfortable
messing around with them co-eds, bro.
Exactly. He got too comfortable. He got too comfortable down there. He needed to go somewhere where they was going to hold him
fired
accountable.
From Kansas, man. That got him fired from Kansas. Stool water. I love it.
Just what I'm saying, man. But Gundy has had 3, 6, 7, 10-win seasons. 2 12-win seasons. He's not bad. Yeah. He's just not great.
Come on, man. Look. I'm off of that. I mean, here's the deal. He's bad now. It's gotten to the point where it's bad because
he's only had 1 losing season.
He's living. Look, now that he's got that revolving contract, there's just nothing good about it because now he doesn't have to necessarily. He's won 3 freaking games against Oklahoma and 1 conference title where they didn't have to win in a championship game. Come on, man.
I'm not
They would have been in the
disagreeing with you.
playoff a year ago if they had to
They would
gag
have.
that one
That
up.
was it. That was the year they were in. Hell, they went 12-1
Insanity.
and 11. They should have won it that year.
Yeah, somebody said on Twitter earlier that should be their bounce back this schedule. I'm looking at it going, no, I still don't see it. All the losses that they had, I don't think they're better. And I mean, I don't know, this Bowman dude. What, are you serious? What has he done? What has he done? I haven't seen anything.
Bowman's from Texas Tech, bro. He was the one who got hurt. The one who kept getting hurt. I thought he was
the one that got booted right out of Michigan too. Get your ass out of here.
They were the number 2 team in the country, 2011, and lost to Iowa State on the road.
Praise God. Praise God.
That was title year right there, buddy. They were going to the title that year. Brandon Whedon was on it, but anyway, I think Okie like gets to a bowl game. Gundy's not had a single losing season besides his first year, kind of like Venables.
It's coming. It's coming.
I see them.
Although
he
is apparently, I don't know that I believe this, but Cody keeps saying that he's kind of coaching for his job this year. I don't know that.
Well, with all the turnovers, supposedly there's some stuff going on. I mean, you can remember back when the Chuba Hubbard situation.
There should be a problem. That's what I'm saying. There's so many things there's so much smoke that has come out of this program, and the whole deal with this offensive coordinator right now has a lot to do with it. He will not touch him. And somebody was like, "Well, he's the best recruiter they got." Well, what does that mean? They recruit in the 60s. What does that matter? So I don't get it. I don't understand it. But when you lose that many guys, yeah, I would really love to hear Trace say a few things about it at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. All right, folks. So I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. We are running out about an hour and a half. So, and I think I already kept Chris longer than I was supposed to. But I will. So we're gonna jump out of here. I appreciate so much everybody coming in here. Make sure you have hit that like button if you haven't already. If you are not already a subscriber, please become one. And make sure to get over to Unfair Sports and to the Horns Down podcast. Subscribe there as well. We will see you on the next one. Thanks a lot for coming in.
Peace.